down to sleep. I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord that I now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord that I wake again.
Welcome to Dinner with the Coaches. I am your author and coach, Nadira Lewis, and I have my amazing co-host over here, Thomas Taylor the Third. How are you, partner?
Good evening. Simply marvelous. Better than good and better than most. It's always a pleasure spending time with you, young lady.
Always. We have such an amazing time, and it's been an amazing year also. If you are watching us on YouTube, make sure you hit the subscribe button, hit the notification button so that you can be notified every time we upload a new video. If you are watching us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, or TikTok, make sure you click like and share if you're blessed by the content that we have been giving you each and every Sunday. So, Thomas, you want to go ahead and talk to our audience about our guest today?
Yeah, definitely. Well, our guest this evening is Miss Sharmane Harrison, and Sharmane is a good friend of ours, and she's been on the show before. But we kind of reached out to her because the beginning of the year, January, and she really, kind of specializes and leans into that area of detoxification, things of that nature. So we just kind of wanted to have on the show in the beginning of the year to really dig deep and dive into detoxifying your body as well as your mind, because there's so many things that go on. Plus, there was so many things that happened in 2022 that, individuals are still dealing with in 2023. So we kind of really want to talk about that detoxifying. Like, what does that mean? What does that look like? How can you apply those techniques to your body and your mind? So it should be a good show.
I'm excited. I definitely can't wait to be able to have her back on. We always have an amazing time, and we learn so much every time she comes on about the importance of maintaining. A lot of the times we always talk about health in terms of dieting, in terms of eating certain foods, but I love the way Sharmane comes at it from a perspective of detoxing your body first before we start talking about other things. So we're going to go ahead and take a quick break. And while we're go ahead and play in this video, our next guest that you'll see alongside of us will be that of Sharmane Q Harrison. And we are back here with Dinner with the Coaches with my amazing co-host and our guest. But before I let Thomas introduce our amazing guest who's been with us several times, and we appreciate her appearance every time she joins us here with Dinner with the Coaches, I don't want to take for granted that if you are watching us and you are at a point in your life where you feel like you're at your wits' end and you feel like you've done everything that you can, just know that God is there right with you and He is an ever present help. And I don't want to take for granted that though we are here each and every week and we're talking business and we're talking life, we want to also make you aware that God is still there with you. And all you have to do is reach out to Him if you're at that point of despair, or if you're feeling low or down because your business is down. Maybe your business is not going the way you want to. Stick with us. If you're fighting health challenges, stick with us. Sharmane is going to be very instrumental to help us, because a lot of the things that we deal with physically has a lot to do with our health. And Sharmane is going to be right here to help us in those areas of our mind so that we can get past the depression and the frustration. Thomas, you want to
Yeah,
introduce our
hey, good
guest?
evening, good evening. Well, yeah, we want to welcome our guest, Miss Charmaine. Like I said, she's been here before. She's
Yes.
very instrumental in helping us understand the importance of detoxifying our body, right? Because there's so
Mm,
many things that we deal with on a daily basis, whether it be food intake and or just the
mhm,
environment, right? That
mhm.
kind of, plays on our health. But then also we
Yes.
kind of want to expand a little bit because this is January, beginning of a new year. We're still kind of coming out of that COVID 2020, 21, 22, right? So we're going to
Mhm,
kind of expand it to talk about detoxifying our body as well as our mind, right? Because that's so very important because it helps
mhm,
give us clarity, right? Vision, where we're going, right? So if our body is full with, toxins, and then our mind is not clear, it kind of adds a bad kind of connotation to get those goals completed that you say you want to accomplish. So, Charmaine, we just kind of, jump in here, kind of tell the people who you are, what you do, and what you're about. Charmaine?
Thank you for having me again. I'm so excited to be here and to teach. I watched the shows from before, and I just see the growth and the excitement, and every time,
Thank you.
it's just
Thank
amazing.
you.
You guys are awesome. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
A little bit about who I am. Well, I'm a mother, first and foremost. I'm a
Mm,
military veteran, and holistic health is what I do, and I specialize in medicinal herbs. And I want to give a little background story about, for those who do not know who I am, why I do what I do, because we know that's super important, right? So for me, my passion kind of met my purpose when I was 28 years old, because for the first 28 years of my life, my body depended on pharmaceutical medications just to survive. So that just
Mm,
means when I was born, I was kind of a sickly child. And, I was born in the 80s, and, there was a lot of stuff going on with drugs and things like that. So I was considered a crack baby, right? So
mm,
that's the terminology they used. And so for the first 28 years, my body was kind of just surviving through sickness. That's what I call it. And I
mm,
was slowly digging a slow grave for myself. And I didn't know. I had autoimmune conditions. And doctors say that's incurable because the cells in your body attack itself. But what I realized with myself was that the only thing attacking my body was me. And I didn't realize
mm.
that till later on when I got out the military and I was suffering from all these different autoimmune conditions. And the one that took the cake was the last one that I suffered from, what was called lichen planus. 95% of my
Mm.
body was pigmented. My hair was falling out. I had a bald spot in the middle of my hair. My skin was burning, bleeding, and itching with different just lesions all over it. And so
Wow.
yeah, and so what I did, what most people do when they get sick, they run to the doctor. They say, "Hey, I need you to fix me yesterday," right? Not
Yeah.
realizing an autoimmune condition is an illness that sits in the body because
mm,
it's been sitting there for a while. You've been sick for a super long time, and so that was me. And so on the self-reflection part, I had to realize that I was suffering because I lack self-discipline. I lack
Mm.
self-love. I lack self-worth. And that's one of the main missing pieces that we don't realize when we're trying to heal. We're looking at it from a quick fix mindset, a diet mindset. We're not really looking at it from a lifestyle change. So all those
mm,
choices that I was making when I was in the military, smoking, the drinking, all these things, all those choices led me down a path to self-sabotage, which a lot of people do it a lot, a lot of the time. So I decided that I wasn't going to only change what I was eating, but I was going to also change what was eating me up on the inside, because I had a lot of
Mm.
trauma sitting in my body, and we don't realize that trauma sits in our body. So I had to begin to heal from the past trauma. I had to begin to heal from stress. I had to begin to have different conversations within myself, letting myself know that I was worth it, and that conversations that didn't involve self-medicating, because a lot of the times I was just running to pharmaceutical drugs. And I chose to adjust my peace because a lot of my life was around toxic people, toxic environment, toxic behavior, toxic habits. And so when I released all those things and I was able to dive into holistic practices and medicinal herbs, that's when I began to tell myself, no, I'm going to choose life. I'm going to choose to live, and I'm going to choose to heal.
Yeah, and that's a great point, right? And I want everybody who's listening to really understand what she's saying. She had a physical ailment, right? Like her body was actually, going against itself, right? But she changed the physical issues with a mental strategy, right? She started in the mind because she made a decision. And sometimes that's one of the hardest things to do, for most people, is to make a decision, right? So her
Right.
decision wasn't physical. Her decision was mental decision. Even though all those things that was going on around her, she was accustomed to, toxic environment, trauma, right? It just became a way of life, unfortunately. But there was a point where she made a decision. You see how fast and easy that is? A decision. Once you make that decision, all those external things, they fall in line, right? But sometimes we don't have the information, the data to make that decision or the support. Well, as you heard, Sharmane, she didn't care about none of that stuff, right? She said, "This is what I'm going to do, not what people want me to do, not what people suggest I should do. No, no. Why? Because this is my body that's failing me. So if I don't do something, who will?"
Wow.
Adira?
That's so true. I think the key thing you kept emphasizing is the decision. That's really, like we always say, it's the start that stops people. I think when you understand the power of your decision, you really start to put the control back inside. You take more control, because you can have, I don't even think it's a lack of information. We have information around us all day long. It's not a matter, it's not a lack of information, it's a lack of the ability to make a decision. And sometimes you can't make a decision if your mind is clouded. Sharmane mentioned getting rid of stress. I don't know if there's any way that you can eliminate stress, but we should be managing stress. Stress is something that's going to always be around, but how we govern our mind, how we govern our lives, we should be in a position to where we're managing stress and not allowing stress to overtake us. I'm the same way. If I start to, I'm like Sharmane, I have learned that I feel better. My mind is a lot better when I eliminate certain things that are contributing. And sometimes you don't even really know how much it's affecting you. Take a look back. If you look at some of you who are doing better now emotionally and physically, take a look back 5-10 years ago. You look totally different. Your pictures, and you'll be like, wow, I look like a whole total different person. Because once you start to grow and develop more of an awareness of the ability to be able to take control and make the decision that I don't want to live like this, I don't want to be like this, it will change it'll change you first, and then others will be able to see you and be like, man, something's different about you. Yeah, I've been doing some emotion, I've been doing some internal work.
Yeah, that makes a difference. So, Sharmane, did you know anybody who had the challenges and the issues that you had in terms of your body and the lesions and things of that nature? Did you know anybody else that had that?
Well, when I first got diagnosed, it was said, doctor said there was no cure, right? And they also said that less than 2%, 1 to 2% of the world's population was diagnosed with this same autoimmune condition. So at the time, I didn't know anyone. I was reaching out. I was like, what do I do? How do, going on YouTube, going on Facebook support groups. And there was Facebook support groups. But I realized a lot of those people in those groups were just complaining. There was no solution. It was just like, right. And so I was like, no. And so as time went on, now that I've been able to get rid of my condition and also help other people to do the same thing, there's a lot more people. Like I actually know 2 other people right now that I served in the military with that have this condition. And it's very, it's actually not rare. That's the thing about it. It's actually not very rare. It's an illness where it's also called leaky gut syndrome. So that's when you allow those toxins to sit in your body, right? And so when those toxins just sit in your body and you don't allow them to be released or come out the body, that's where the issue comes in at. That's where, when it sits there, absolutely, that's where the issue comes in at. So yeah, there's a lot more people. Like I'm pretty sure that statistic, that number isn't anywhere near less than 3%. 2%. I'm pretty sure it's a lot more. I speak to a lot of people all over the world, specifically in India, also that's suffering with this condition. So
I have a question. Now, you said this is also tied to leaky gut syndrome too. What do you say to people who are doing the necessary steps to make sure that they're eating right and they're doing all the things that we discussed, but yet still struggle with a little bit of gut? Like, what would you say, or what are some things that they can do to be able to help bring that gut down? Because I know there's times when I've actually worked and I've done the work, and sometimes I still struggle with a little bit of that gut, and is there something in addition that we need to be doing to kind of help contribute to releasing some of that gut?
Absolutely. So one of the major things that I've noticed, especially for women, 80% of us suffer with hormone imbalances. And so what we don't realize, and men can also, but what we don't realize is that you have to look at your health holistically. So it's not, you could be eating the right things, right? So if you could be eating your fruit and vegetables, but if you are not releasing toxins. So basically our body absorbs 20,000 toxins a day. That's going to come from anything from cologne, perfumes, makeup. It's just a lot of different things. When we get in the car, the environment, when we walk around the house with no shoes on, our body is absorbing nonstop. And so you don't want to look at it from, oh, what do I, kind of eat type ordeal. You want to look at it from a holistic viewpoint, because stress, like I said, stress sits in the body. So that's one of the first things that I realized, was that I had hit a plateau with my weight at some point because that I was so stressed out. So we have to look at those other areas of our lives and understand that the other areas also play a major factor. I put a post up that says stress doesn't kill. It's our response to it that kills us.
Yeah, I've seen that. Yeah.
And so we really just want to understand that, all these things, we could be doing all the right things, but you have to look at it from a holistic standpoint, not just what you're eating. Are you allowing your body to rest too? And sometimes what we're not doing is we're not detoxing. People jump from diet to diet. They go from, oh, I'm going to do keto, then I'm going to do the Mediterranean, then I'm going to do this type of diet. And what they're really ultimately doing is just putting waste and waste and waste in their body. They're not actually releasing anything. They're just putting waste in the body. And so the detoxing, the cleansing part is so important. And there's such a huge difference in between, cleansing and detoxing that I'll get into. But that's something, you want to make sure that you address, like those just different areas.
That's good.
Yeah, that's very interesting. So, if we was to rewind the tape, you said holistic about 3 or 4 times, right? So I'm going to read the definition, but you give us kind of, when you talk about holistic, what are you referencing, right? Because we hear the terminology a lot. You used it and referenced a lot, but I don't really know if everybody understands what it really means when you're talking about on the detoxification side, right? So holistic, characterized by the belief that the parts of something are interconnected and can be explained only by the reference to the whole, holistic.
Absolutely.
And this is your before and after pictures.
Yeah.
Incredible. I want everybody to really take a look at this. How her body, when she talked about lesions and all these other things, how her body was really deteriorating, right?
Yeah,
Wow,
definitely.
that's incredible, man. But you know what? Even if you really look at it, and this is what's interesting, and I've seen this before. If you look at your before picture, you still have that beautiful smile, though.
Yeah.
See. So for me, that's the mental aspect of it, because most people in the before would have a frown on their face. Sharmane, they wouldn't have a
Right.
smile, right? You still smiling, you still glowing, even though your body looks the way it is. Right.
Wow.
Yeah.
So the after, the transformation in the after was mental.
Right. And also
Right.
in that picture too, before, I think I was in a space where some people are at, they're accepting. They felt like me, for example, in that picture, I felt like, well, if I gotta look like this for the rest of my life, I might as well just, put a smile on. And so I
Uh,
didn't know that what I had was curable. I didn't know I could get rid of
Mm.
it. So in that picture, I was really accepting of it. And that was also after I found those different Facebook groups, which I have my own now, but I found those different Facebook groups. And the people it was just depressing. And I just got out the military. So I didn't want to be in that space anymore. I didn't want to be in that space of just, this was to be one of the happiest times of my life. And so when I looked in that group, I was like, no, I'm going to be that person. I'm going to be that leader that stands up. Even we're going to
Mm.
suffer together, I guess. This is how we're going to look. So I actually took the picture and dropped that in the group also. I'm like, hey, if we're going to look like this, you might as well smile while we do it. So I think mentally I was psyching myself out
yeah.
for just to accept this is how it was going to be.
Yeah.
Now, for
So
those
tell us when you
that are
talk about.
watching, before you
Mhm.
continue, Thomas, for those that are watching, tell
Yeah.
them how long it took from the before picture to receive the results in the second picture.
For me, it took a year and a half because I didn't have a coach. I didn't have anybody I could look up to that said, hey, you can get rid of this faster. Like I didn't know anybody. So it took me a lot longer than what it usually takes my clients.
Wow.
Awesome, man. Yeah, I was going to get back. So explain to the people about holistic. When you use the term holistic, like what are you really referencing?
So, like you said in the definition, our beliefs. So, one of the biggest challenges is our beliefs keeps us sick a lot of the times. There's no, like we
Mm.
think about different things. Like growing up, we grow up a certain way. So when I speak to people in different countries, and their traditions, and even here in the U.S., our traditions, our belief keeps us sick. So if we
Mm,
believe certain things, this is how it's
wow.
supposed to be. Like for food, we believe I grew up in the deep South. So we believe certain things around food, right? And so if it's not prepared a certain way, if it doesn't look a certain way, if it doesn't smell a certain way, we're not eating it.
Mhm.
No, I don't want to eat that. And so, I had to realize like I had to get out of that mindset, that this was the only way to prepare food. Another thing around our beliefs is we believe that fruit and vegetables aren't food or is not fulfilling. Like if you go to a family event, like my family reunion, you better not put no fruit and vegetables on the table talking about here you go. If it's not green beans with potatoes and some
Fat
pork
back.
fat back and turkey necks in it, you better not put it on the table. They're gonna look at you like you crazy. So just those beliefs
Mm,
that
mm,
we're taught
mm,
from childhood keeps our health stuck, and we're not taught about how the body needs minerals and nutrients and vitamins. We're not taught these things, and the reason we're
Mm.
not taught these things is because growing up, they didn't know. Our parents and our grandparents didn't know. They were teaching us from a state of being in survival mode.
yeah,
Mm.
yeah, yeah. Because not to get too deep, but we could take it all the way back to slavery, right?
Mm.
So again, those words that you just said during slavery, it was survival
Yeah.
because we didn't have the ability to go get what we felt we needed. We had to eat. We had to sustain life.
Mm.
And at that
Yeah.
time, even if it was off the scraps of what was given to us, we made those scraps work. But
Mm.
we didn't change. Once we became free, once they took the shackles off, we didn't change our mindset.
Right. Right.
See,
And then we
those
started
things were
believing
just
everything
passed
was
on.
running the family. Exactly.
Yeah, they were
Exactly.
passed on. right? Not really realizing, the health ailments between high blood pressure, diabetes, and all those things was contributing to that.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
But we normalize that behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, well, that's just what it is, man. My mother's had high blood pressure, right? My father's father had diabetes, right? It just runs in the family. Oh, it does?
Yeah. That was going to be my question. How important does genetics play in it? Because there are some people that I know who look amazing. Their health is amazing, and they've eaten a lot of the stuff that some other families have eaten, and there's a huge obesity problem there, where they look perfectly fine. Like they don't have any at this point health issues. How important or how much does genetics really play? Because some people can eat some stuff and they can just go to town on it and they look fine, don't have no problems. They can eat candy all day, they teeth, they don't have issues with cavities or nothing. And some people eat a piece of candy, a slice of cake, and it's just all downhill.
Right. And genetics play a huge role, and that's the thing, it runs in the family narrative versus, you having your own mindset and actually learning. So what ends up happening is basically like when a mother breastfeeds, right? And so they tell you can't drink alcohol, you can't smoke because you can pass toxins on to the baby and stuff like that. So it's the same thing with everything else. If your grandmother had diabetes and your mother had diabetes, that's passing sugar through the blood. So what do you think is going to happen when you have a child? And then you continue on passing through that sugar because you never changed your eating habits. And so illness this is not scientifically proven, but I don't run off that because the doctor said what I had was incurable. And now look at me, And so I believe that stuff does run through, genetically. It can run through in the blood if you do not change your eating habits. But the thing is, when you know better, you do better. So when you get to, if that's your case, if that's, how you were raised, once you turn a certain age and you're able to break yourself from that, then you have to do better. Then you continue on your journey to doing better. You don't just go and, you still eating the same things. Like literally, I know someone right now and she's trying to go be on her health journey. And what she says is, well, my mother passed away from X, Y, and Z. And so she's like, I need to do better. And I'm like, okay, great, do better. She's like, but this runs in my family, so it scares me, And I'm like, but you're kind of staying stuck. You're kind of staying stagnant, because of a choice that you're choosing to make. Like this might run in your family, but it only runs in your family because you're eating the same things that your mother ate. That's why it's running in the family. So when you break yourself of that, and those people that like, I know somebody right now, they're 115 pounds. They still got diabetes. And because it's not about size with diabetes, it's about how much sugar you're intaking in your body.
Wow.
So you can lose all the weight in the world and still suffer from an illness, maybe because maybe your habits. Maybe you drink a lot. Maybe you stress out a lot. There's vegans with cancer right now because all they do is stress all day. They have high stress jobs.
Wow. Interesting. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I hope you guys are getting a lot out of this. We're going to go to break, right, in a minute. But when we come back, oh, man, when we come back, Sharmane, we want to get a little bit deeper, right? We want to kind of talk about maybe your daily affirmations, right? Things that you do on a daily basis, right? Maybe we want to get into a little bit about regimens, right? Maybe there's certain things that you do, and that's really directly related to when you talked about the belief, right? That belief system is key, right? Because when we normalize behavior that is not conducive to our health success, that becomes our belief system. It don't have to be right. It just becomes our belief system. And then the last thing we kind of want to get into is some methods that we can share with our listening audience of detoxifying our body and detoxifying our mind, right? Because obviously you did it, right? They said it couldn't be done, but you found a way to do it, right? So we definitely want to give our listening audience, some real things that are tangible that they can start to implement in their lives if they're dealing with this situation, right? Because obviously you had enough wherewithal to share this with the world. Okay, that's beautiful. Maybe some people don't have that same courage, right? They could be listening to us right now, suffering in silence, right? And if you can share some things with them, maybe they can start applying it to start to kind of turn the corner a little bit, and then hopefully they can reach out to you for more assistance.
Absolutely.
Wow. That's good. Well, you heard it, guys, and we'll be back with more with our holistic health coach, Sharmane Q Harrison, after this. I did a broadcast a couple of months ago, and I was saying how if you don't operate in your season, you're useless. So, and I gave the example of the fig tree, right? And I said that how Jesus cursed the fig tree because it was time. IBG Careers is looking for customer service representatives needed to service their customers from home. If you're interested, please apply at www.
I've done some terrible things in my life.
Some of them I chose to do.
And I own these choices.
But others, I just feel like I was swept up in a series of circumstances that didn't involve my will.
They just sort of happened to me.
I've become the culmination of those choices and circumstances.
So I guess I just need to say it.
I really need some help.
Hi, I'm Nadira Lewis, author, life, and business coach, and founder of the Becoming a Woman of Proverbs Wisdom Academy. I help women take their life experiences and turn them into life lessons. I also believe that just like hurt people, transform people can transform people too. Make sure you book a call with me at www.womanofproverbscoaching.com, and I'll see you on the other side of victory. All right. And we are back with our amazing guest, holistic health coach, Sharmane Q Harrison. Thank you so much for those that have been joining and engaging with us. I would like to take some time before we continue to acknowledge Shavala Hardy. Thank you so much. Shavala said, yeah. That's what she said. And and for Chris Elliott says, so many women has dealt with that. Thank you so much, Chris. And it's absolutely correct. A lot of women deal with a lot of leaky gut syndrome and just don't know exactly how to get rid of the leaky gut. Shavala also said, I love this. Thank you for the invite, Miss Harrison. Thank you so much for joining us. We also had someone to say hello. Make sure that you are giving StreamYard access to your Facebook so that we can see your name when you show up on the comments. Thank you, Sester. Says, thank you, Sharmane. Sharmane has been giving us some really great information, and I hope you are taking notes. All right, Thomas, you want to go ahead
Awesome. Yeah. So just some things, Sharmane, that you can share with the people. You know, if you do affirmations, if you have affirmations, if you have things that can help people with their reinforcing a particular belief system, which is important, and then some methods on, you know, things that you do and or suggest when it comes to actually detoxifying from the, you know, mental state, from the physical body, based upon a general view of what people may be dealing with, because you just never know what individuals are dealing with. Yep.
Right. So, one of the first things that I mentioned was how I chose life. I chose to live. I chose to heal. Because at some point, I was dealing with a lot of anxiety and things like that. So life wasn't, the best, And so when you actually make a decision to choose life and you choose to live, you want to do better for yourself, and you want to heal, then the first thing you have to do is basically self-awareness and be honest, because you have to be honest. Self-responsibility, a lot of the times you go to the doctor that you met 5 minutes ago and you tell them, hey, fix everything. These are my symptoms. I need you to give me something to fix me yesterday. But we're not going in that doctor's office saying, hey, doc, I'm drinking every Friday, or I'm having 3 drinks a week, or maybe every day. We're not doing that. We're not telling them how much we're smoking. We're not telling them how much, stress we're going to. We're just going to say, hey, this is the problem, fix it. Right. And we expect all our issues to be gone, but that's not the case. So when we sit down, one of the first things I teach is sit down and be honest with yourself. How much meat are you consuming? How much alcohol do you consume? How often do you stress out? Like, these are the things that you just have to be honest with yourself. You really have to write it down and really look at it. Say, hey, for breakfast, I'm eating pork. For lunch, I eat chicken, and then for dinner, I'm having red meat, right? And so when you really sit down and look at it like that, that gives you a identifier how much waste is going in the body, not just from the meat, but from different things. Yeah, I wear a ton of makeup every day. Yes, maybe I work in an environment where there's a lot of pollution. Just these things, because remember, 20,000 toxins absorb in the body on a daily basis. That's why you have vegans that sometimes have cancer. So you have to have a self-awareness and self-responsibility. And so that's one of the biggest things too. So when you talk about cleansing and detoxing, you have to realize that holistically, environment, music, toxic people, habits, write down all these things. And so for me, when I was in the military, one of the things that I was doing when I was in the military, I would wake up 3 o'clock in the morning. I had an attitude already, right? I already wake up. And we don't realize when we have an attitude, that stresses the body out. It really does. Like, that the cortisol level go like that.
Wow.
Why are you waking up 3 o'clock in the morning with an attitude, man?
Because you gotta get up. Some people don't like to get up.
To go run 10 miles. Right. We had to run. I was like, dang, again? So that was one thing. I woke up. So I got in the car and I was blasting rap music. That's another thing. Music is a vibration. Music is energy. So when we're up there, that already heightened the fact I had an attitude. That just heightened it. So now I'm in the car and I'm like, yeah. So I'm about to go to work and get ready to look at everybody powerful. Like this and have an attitude, right?
Wait. Wait a minute. Slow down. Slow down. You got to repeat that again, because that's not something to just pass by.
My goodness.
That's pretty deep. You said music. It's the vibration, and you were saying how it contributed to your mood, and you was going to work and looking at people like that. I really want to get into that, because I think a lot of people are like that on Mondays. When they're ready, they don't want to go to work, and not even realizing that they're already setting themselves up for their bodies to start to embrace the stress before it even gets there. Wow.
And that's a level of self-awareness that you really got. I really had to sit down and I really had to be like, man, because again, trauma sits in the body, especially women, it sits in our womb. So we're not realizing that we're holding all that in, because we're holding all that in. Because I was like, how am I in the military and I'm suffering with all these different illnesses? Because a lot of the time it was stress. A lot of it was stress.
Wow.
Yep, a lot of it was stress. So when we get there, when we talk about detoxing, that's one big way of detoxing, is checking your environment, checking your music. And so then after I get to work, I have an attitude because I'm helping everybody. and I worked in HR at the time, so I'm helping everybody, and then throughout the day I'm hungry, so I'm sitting at my desk and I'm just eating whatever, I'm just snacking till lunchtime. Then I'm snacking, then I'm stressed out, so now I got to go outside and smoke. So then I come back in, and then I'm not even realizing. Then I get off work, and what do we do when we get off work on Monday? A lot of people do, not me, but at the time, I need another drink, right? I need a drink. And it was just bad. It was just bad. And I said another because sometime at lunchtime, go some Red Lobster or something. Oh, let me have one little drink. It was bad. It was bad. And that's the reality that some people go through on a daily basis, when they, especially in a military environment. And so when we're honest about those things, and when we're real with ourselves, and we can reflect and say, I have a problem, that's when the healing begins.
Now, was your body like the picture we showed? Was your body going through that at the time, or your body didn't react until after you got out of the military?
Yeah. So with that, my body did not even react. Like I know for sure that our bodies, when we're sick, our physical symptoms do not show until later on. So it's not instant. So our bodies are already suffering. The cells in our body is already suffering before we even show physical symptoms. So for me, I believe that all of this was just hoarding in my body. My adrenaline was always shot up at all times while serving in the military, especially I was in a military police unit at one point. We're very high going, very high paced. When I got out the military, I felt everything just go whoosh, like everything just stopped. Right. Yeah. And then my body reacted just like that. Like everything just happened within 90 days. My hair fell out, all of it. So my body, I think, was the cortisol levels was always up here. So when finally it wasn't, my body was like, what are we doing? That's when the autoimmune condition started going haywire.
Yeah. Now, you see, I want to pause right there. The reason why I asked that question for the listening audience is because as long as she was, quote unquote, doing those negative things to her body, there was no reaction, right? Nothing. So that behavior became normal, right? And her body normalized that behavior with no reaction, right? So it was building up toxins and immunity to the things that she was doing. Boom. Okay, she gets out of the military, things slow down, it's more like a crash. Now the body's like, hey, what's going on? What happened? What's all that stuff that you was feeding me?
Right.
Ooh, okay, now I'm gonna negatively react to what you're not giving me. Like, do you guys see that? Did you see that story? How it transitions? So think about today, our lives, like all the things that we go through that we're normalizing, and our body is consuming those things. Right? To something happens in our life and it changes, and now your body reacts to it. All right, Sharmane, go ahead.
No, that's real. Exactly. And that's real. Like Nadir was saying earlier, how you got people that's drinking and they're eating candy and they're doing all these things and nothing is happening to them. That doesn't mean it's never going to happen. It's going to happen. It just might not happen right then and there. It's going to catch up to them.
Yeah.
Now I have a question for as a woman, because I don't think this is discussed enough. How important, with us, we hold stress in our body a lot differently than men. How does stress in our eating habits are different? How different are they when it comes to affecting our body than it is with men? Is there a difference? Should I be saying?
Well, for us, we hold a lot of stress in our womb, which is one of the biggest reasons why. And we have a lot of different hormones in our body that need to be produced. And, if we overproduce or underproduce, that affects it a lot. And so that's why a lot of women hold a lot of weight in their stomach. Right. And so with men, and it's different for men also, because with men, you guys are like working hardcore. Y'all not trying to go to nobody's doctor. Life is like you trying to work nonstop. Right. And so there's a huge difference, but that doesn't mean men don't go through it. It just hits them a lot harder, because that's why one of the biggest with cancers right now, one of the top 3s is colon cancer for men. Also strokes and heart attack, because men go so hard at all times. There's a different type of, social pressure on them. And then it just hits them all at once. Women, we're more emotional. We're just up and down all the time, up and down. Men kind of
Mm.
hold it there, not saying women don't, but it's a lot different
Yeah, facts.
between.
Yep, facts.
Yeah,
And
so it
could
just
it be also too that their bodies are built to, because I've been doing not a whole lot of studying, but I've been listening to like different people who are in sort of in a different industry talking about how men their bodies are made to handle or manage stress a little bit better than us.
Mhm.
Would you agree with that?
I mean that could be it. I see Coach T, you gonna chime in on that?
Yeah. So I mean that's a good point. So I think the difference is the releasing of that stress.
Mm.
Right. So
Okay.
handling is one thing, the release is different. Right. So if you listen to what Sharmane says, okay, if we both have stress, if a woman's emotions is up and down and she's dealing with a lot, she's releasing, accepting, releasing, accepting, releasing, accepting. When a man gets it on his back, our release is not the same. Right.
Mm.
So what happens is with men, because we hold it in, when we release, we kill the wife, we kill the kids, and then we shoot ourselves.
Mm.
Right.
That's right.
Because we don't trust anybody around them with the release.
Mm.
And then we don't stop, and we don't put ourselves, and I talk about this all the time, on our own agenda to release. Right.
Mm.
So we can handle more. So just think about what you're saying, Adira. The
Mhm.
handling is one thing, but regardless of how much we handle, man or woman, eventually it's going to get too heavy.
Exactly.
Mm.
Eventually, right? Because if you keep putting it on your back, eventually you're not going to be able to function.
Mhm.
Mm.
So how we're releasing it is the difference, right? Men need to find better ways to release. Women
Absolutely.
got girlfriends to release. Men don't trust like that.
Yeah,
It's a
men
difference.
release theirs through sex. That's that. Men release
Mm,
theirs through sex. Some men release theirs through sex is what I've
yeah,
heard. Like a lot of men do.
yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and then so think about it. If it's not enough of that, or a man is not
Right.
getting out enough, he's gonna
Right.
hold it in. He's
Mhm.
gonna
Right.
hold it in, right? Until something happens and it triggers, and now it's an explosion,
Right.
Mm.
right? So that's why, like in the mornings, like I go to the gym at 5 o'clock in the mornings, and I do a lot of reels, right? And I do that to encourage, men and women at the start of your day, put you first, whether it's
Right.
Right.
prayer, meditation, or exercise. Put you first on the list. And most men, we don't do that.
Mhm.
Put
Right.
everybody else. And then we might get on the list and we might not. Now you have an explosion. So just think about that, dear. We putting all that on top of us and we not getting enough sex.
Yeah.
What do you think's gonna happen?
That's why LA Fitness be so full. I'll be
That's
like, golly, it's full of men trying to get rid
hey,
of that stress.
hey, you better get it out somehow, boy. You explode. All right, so man, you gotta go ahead. Oh,
Absolutely.
we pardon the
And like
interruption.
no, you're good. That was good. And knowing, like you said, like knowing that your health is worth saving. I think
Yeah.
that's knowing that your health is worth saving and not worrying about what other people are going to say. Like literally right now, I'm in a space where for the past 8 months, all my body wants is fruit and vegetable raw. And I know a lot of people right now who have told me like, hey, my body, it's not feeling the meat right now. I don't want a lot of meat, or I open it, it doesn't smell right. And that's one of the things that I went through. When I decided, I was like, I'm gonna ease off of it. But when you get to a space where you don't care what people think, like people look at me like that's all you eat is fruit, vegetables all day, like that's what's wrong with you, and this is like
Yeah.
nothing that I feel good. It's not about how skinny you are or how you look, it's about how you feel. Do you
Mm.
feel good? Are you waking up, with gratitude, things like that? I made a list the other day of some things that I'm gonna share that I do. Actually, it was a post on Facebook, and it said one of the things that I do every day is break up and practice gratitude. I practice
Mm.
being grateful because it's so easy to complain. I guarantee you,
Mm.
ask 10 people How you doing? Ask 10 people that. A majority of them they're going to complain before they say, I'm doing great, I'm doing awesome, because complaining is a lot easier. And so when we complain, stress equals inflammation in the body. So I wake up and I practice gratitude. I make fitness fun. That's another thing I do. When we think about fitness, we think about a diet. We think we got to run 10 miles and all these things. But in all reality, my fitness, I'm going to the pool, I'm going skating, I'm going to the beach, I'm doing these different things with my daughter. So that's my fitness. That's me moving my body and getting out into the sun, and also getting rest. Men, getting rest, finding the stopping point for the day, not working until you crash and don't have any energy for anything else. So that's so important for stress, managing stress, getting the rest, going out into the sun, laughing, staying away from toxic people, put meditation, loving myself. We live in a culture right now where everybody's glamorizing, to look a certain way, and so when you really love yourself and embrace you and who you are, that goes a long way. Drinking plenty of water, speaking to God, consuming fruit in its natural state. And that's one of the main things. When we go next time, y'all go to the grocery store, when you're viewing this, start buying a little bit more fruit, start buying a little bit more vegetables, start there. You don't have to, people think about diet and things like that, and they're thinking they got to go, cold turkey, plant-based, vegan. You don't have to do any of that. Because if you're not drinking water every day or eating fruit and vegetables every day, then that's where you need to start. You don't have to overwhelm yourself. Just start there. So that's another thing. And that's a form of cleansing too. So
there
it's
you
the
go.
difference between cleansing and detoxing. Cleansing is more like when you wash your car, but you haven't vacuumed it out yet. So the detoxing is when you vacuum it out, and the remineralizing of the organs is when you change the oil.
I like that.
Ooh, come on, girl. Come on, girl. Now you're showing out now, boy.
Yes.
That's awesome,
I like
man.
that. Yes. Wow.
Yes.
Yeah, that's that detoxifying, man. That's very, very, very important.
Yes, absolutely. I mean, I could go on and on. I could give some more, but
Yeah,
absolutely.
we'll stay on that. I mean, we only got a couple of minutes, but stay on that message of detoxifying, because I think that's really going to help people, to give them those little tidbits, right? Because people think that you got to do all this or you beat all. No, you really don't have to. You just start here, little increments, right, to get to the larger picture and the goal.
Gotcha. So with the cleansing, like I said, that's more of, because you got to do that first. Cleansing is more so starting to eat cleaner. If you're eating 3 meals a day, take it down to 2 meals. Replace that breakfast with the bacon and eggs and stuff, and replace that with a large smoothie, a really big smoothie. It doesn't have to be this little one. You're still gonna be hungry 5 minutes later. Make it nice and big, so you can get full. Another thing that people can start doing too is being able to get to a space where they're drinking more water, infused water. If you're eating a lot of fruit, then you don't have to drink as much water, because you're getting hydration from that fruit. Okay. And so start eating a little bit more fruit and things like that. What that's going to do is that's going to start to cleanse the body. Okay. To prepare to detox. The detox part is when the waste is actually coming out the body. So you remember when I said people jump from this diet to that diet, they jump from this diet, and they're just putting a lot of waste in their body. They're not, nothing's coming out. And so when you get to a space where you actually you're starting to take bowel movements regularly, you're starting to urinate the way you're supposed to urinate, and it's not orange color, that's a form of detoxing. Me, I go to the steam room a lot. I go to the steam room because that opens up my pores and allows me to sweat. That's a form of detoxing. Sweat is a form of detoxing. So there's a difference when you are just cleansing and you're getting your body ready to detox, and actually detoxing. That's when you start to lose the waste out of the body, right? And then you have to remineralize. That's where a lot of the different herbs come in at. And people think that the herbs are first because they think of pharmaceutical drugs.
Right.
So they're like, what herbs do I take for a headache? Well, what herbs do I take for this? What herbs and I don't even go there with them. I'm like, hey, check yourself holistically first. Check, Check who you're around. Check your stress levels. Check these things. Are you staring at your phone all night? You know, our body has to detox from radiation too, from staring at our phone all the time. So you got to
Mhm.
detox,
That's
you know,
good.
social media, you know, the TV, Netflix. Got to
That's
detox from
good.
these things. So.
That's good, Nadira. So make sure you get off of TikTok at a certain time, Nadira. Okay. Do not spend all night on TikTok.
Absolutely.
That's another show, detoxing from social media, boy. That's a
Oh
whole
yeah.
other show, boy.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh,
So
That
yeah,
wow.
is incredible. Wow.
absolutely.
Nadira,
Absolutely.
what do you think?
Man.
What do you got to say? We got a couple minutes left.
Yeah, I think when
This was awesome.
when someone comes to you and say, where does a person start? If they're coming and they have acknowledged that, yeah, you know, I realize that I have some bad habits and there may also be some trauma.
Mhm.
Where would you start? Where should a person start if once they get to the point that they acknowledge that there's some things they need to change, but don't quite know where to start? What would you say to them and how would they go about doing the detoxifying and everything that, I mean, what would they do first?
And so first I would say holistically check your environment, check the people you're around, because when you get to a space of detoxing, cleansing and detoxing and stuff like that, you really want to check like who you're around. Because let me tell you, when I was in the military, it was a point where my drinking got really bad. And I was
Mm.
saying, oh, I need to stop. I'm telling myself I need to stop. And so I
Mhm.
went and bought the alcohol. But then guess what? My so-called friend would go and, you know, go to the store and buy the alcohol. And I was like, no, I don't want to drink. I'm good. And sit it by my door. I'm not, at that point, I wasn't strong enough to be like, oh, no, I ain't going to drink. I took it and I'm like, okay, I ain't going to drink. But I put myself in a situation when I opened the door, picked it up and put it in my kitchen. So
Mm.
I had to check myself, check the people around me. Who do I have around me? Because sometimes when we are trying to do better, the people that are around us, they will start talking. Why you want to do that? Well, a little drink never killed anybody. Well, you don't want to get too skinny. Well, are herbs safe? Are you sure you want to do that? And when sometimes we're in the beginning, we're not strong enough to be
Yeah.
able to say, we slowly kind of go back. So you want to make sure that you're in environmentally, check that space, check those people around you, because once you make a decision that you're going to do better, you know,
Mhm.
then you go ahead and, you know, you do better. But it's just kind of hard when those people around you are like in your ear constantly. So that's one of the first things I had to do. I had to check myself with that. And also like I said, eat more fruit and vegetables. You know, start at that spot where you're
Mhm.
just eating more, you know, so you don't overwhelm yourself.
So at what point do you need to reach out to a coach for somebody like you and say, okay, maybe somebody who's already put that into place? At what point do you
Mhm.
need a coach just like you? Because you go more in depth with the
Mhm.
mind and so many other things. At what point should a person say, you know what? I need to go ahead and get a coach. Should it be when they're getting ill, or should it be when they've made a decision to be seriously putting their effort into getting to a certain goal? When do you suggest they get
Mhm.
a holistic health coach?
When most people reach out to me, you know, once they've been diagnosed with something, right? Once they been diagnosed, and you know, they
Mhm.
wait until that moment to say, okay, I really want to make a difference. And what some people do, instead of reaching out to a coach, they sadly they go and they try to find the information from themselves, because a lot of people think that I just gotta eat some broccoli and, you know, drink a cup of water and eat some apples and my problems are gonna be gone. But when they see that doesn't work, then it's like, oh dang, and then they hit a brick wall, like you were saying, dear. When your weight hits a plateau, especially as a woman, when your weight hits a certain plateau, you can eat all the fruit and vegetables you want, but if it's not going to work, because now you have a hormone problem, you know,
Yeah.
imbalance. Now there's a
Mm.
hormone imbalance that's happening in the body. So your body's not going to, now maybe thyroid, it could be a lot of these things. So once you're hitting that brick wall, you know, definitely you want to make sure you reach out to somebody that knows what they're talking about and is able to check those different areas for you, and kind of go from there, because it's frustrating. It can be frustrating when you're like, I tried these diets, I ate all this food, I did this, and then you start to lose hope, and then that's where it runs in my family. That's where the acceptance comes in at. That's when you're just kind of like, it's nothing I can do about it.
That's
so
deep.
You don't want to get to that space.
And I have one last question. How, being that you are a specialist, you have done the research, you've done the work in your own life, and then you've helped people around you. What are some diseases or some ailments that from some of your clients that you've been able to help them reverse?
So I've helped people reverse PCOS, which is the hormone imbalance in the body. I've helped people with lichen planus, skin conditions, diabetes. I've helped them, just different things like that, holistic methods to release trauma. So primarily the business owners and entrepreneurs and military personnel that I'm helping. Those are three of the main things that they suffer from. Their weight is stagnant. They feel like they've tried everything. A lot of them have hormone imbalances, which is like PCOS, and that can show up in different areas. Also in skin conditions.
Gotcha.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're at the top of the hour. I know. It just goes fast. It comes up quick. We was just starting to get into it, Well, Sharmane, give the people that's watching your information and how they can reach out to you if they have any questions, things of that nature. Then after the call, kind of stay on and we'll talk some more. But go ahead. You got the floor.
Sounds good. Okay, so if you are looking to stop dealing and start healing in 2023, make sure you reach out at www.healbynature.org. You can subscribe there for free health tips, and also all my social media platforms are on there. So primarily, I'm on Instagram mainly. That's Sharmane_Q. But yeah, that's how you can reach out to me. You can follow my journey, and you can go ahead and go from there.
All right. Awesome, man. Well, hey, we enjoyed the information, boy. I hope those that are watching got a whole lot out of it. And then I think we had a couple more comments. You can read that before you close us out.
Yes. Thank you so much again for each and every one of you that join us every Sunday and engage with us. We want to also thank, let's see, we got Miss Shavala Hardy says, I love this. Thank you for the invite. We had another person that says, dang, I guess they were referring to some of the things that you were referring to. We have another Facebook user, I believe it's Khadija, says, that's pretty good. Miss Hardy is funny. I like this. She said, my husband said, that lady know what she talking about. I need to contact her about my blood pressure and weight. I laughed and said, baby, I know who that is. Thank you so much, Miss Hardy. Yes, and Jail loved it. Thank you so much for each and every one of you. And you can continue to engage in the comments even after the broadcast. And Sharmane Thomas and I will still engage with you after the broadcast. So if you have any questions for Sharmane, make sure you put it in the comments, and Sharmane will answer them as much as she can. But you can also visit her, book a call with her at www.healbynature.org. She is amazing. She's a living testimony. She's not just she's living this thing out. So, and Sharmane has been very instrumental in helping me through COVID. When I had COVID, Sharmane was on the phone, Nadira, do this, take this, do that, and was very instrumental at helping me get through COVID. So this girl knows what she's talking about, and I'm telling you, if you haven't joined her, go make sure you subscribe for her daily health tips. You won't be disappointed. All right. Well, until next time, did you want to say anything else, Thomas, before we actually end the broadcast?
Nah, that was great, man. That was great. Thank you, Miss Sharmane. It's always a pleasing pleasure.
All right. Thank you guys for watching. And if you are watching on a replay, make sure you put hashtag replay, and make sure that before next week comes, Friday, we're going to be here again on Sisterhood Check-In Friday at 10 p.m. So make sure you join us, and we'll see you next week. Have an amazing week, guys.
I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord that I Now I lay me down to sleep. I pray the Lord that I wake again. I wake again. I pray the Lord that I wake.